Alright, what we have here today is my image of my dad's hobby shop. This image is probably from, well, my dad estimated it's from the mid-50s. But what we actually want to do today is colorize our Dr. Pepper logo, because my dad enjoys Dr. Pepper. He asked me how to do it. So here is what I whipped up, and there's obviously going to be better ways to do it in the world, but what we're going to do is, initially we're going to use the magnetic lasso tool. And what we want this for is to select the inside part of the logo that we want to be maroon. The way this tool works is that after we click and select the initial point, we just move our mouse, we're not holding down the button at all, and the tool identifies the edges of our object. Now, we see there we had a little problem, it jumped over to the edge of the D, but it's going to do most of what we want for the initial selection. Now it went around the edge of that R there, but for the initial selection this is going to be super great. So that's plenty good. Now I'm going to go to a polygonal lasso tool to add in the bits where our tool went very awry. And actually, this is pretty good before I have to go to another tool. So you see I kind of take big cuts there. So now I'm finally going to go to the kind of cleanup lasso tool. I use the trackpad right now, so this is not going to be super agile, but I'll do what I can do. A little bit too far there, so we can call this pretty good though. Okay. So now we've got our initial selection, and honestly a little bit of roughness is going to be okay, because next we're going to refine the edge. What refining the edge will do is, mainly for our purposes, we're going to make it a little bit fuzzy, okay? I'm also going to expand the edge a little bit outwards, so shift the edge outwards. The reason for these two things, the fuzziness just makes it blend better. Expanding it outwards in our case is expanding outwards into a darker background, so we know we are okay. Depending on what you're doing, you might want different settings, but we can be pretty quick and dirty here. So I've now got a selection that I know I like pretty well, and I'm going to hit Layer, New Layer via Copy. So I've now copied the contents of my selection into a new layer. Okay, so now we could be almost done right now. We want to go into Image, Adjustments, Hue, and Saturation, and just crank up the hue to be near pepper, crank up the saturation. Now the problem is we have colorized our white Dr. Pepper wording. That's not the end of the world, but I think it's going to look a little bit better with white. So what I next am going to do, I'm going to undo our hue and saturation. So now what I'm going to do is select out so what I first used was the magic wand tool with a threshold of 22. I don't even have napkin numbers on why I picked 22. I just knew that 0 was too low and 22 was the next number I tried, and it got me this. So the magic wand tool definitely does have some fuzziness, some quirks that you have to work with, but as it happens with this photo, we're kind of okay with quirks. You know, it depends on what you're doing it for. This is going to be scaled to Facebook JPEG, so, you know, probably already overkilling it. Okay, so there we have a selection I'm pretty happy with. Now if I hit V to go to the arrow tool, we can see what we've got selected is this. What I'm going to do is, again, fuzzify this and expand it, okay? So I'm going to shift the edge out again. I'm going to feather it. So these are the two things I've done. And now I'm just going to delete that. So now what we have is a layer that contains that over that. So now working on layer 1, if I then go to my hue and saturation, the dogs are about to bark in my hue and saturation. So I almost fuzzied it too much. I'll go back and play with that, but that's pretty much it for a quick and dirty Dr. Pepper logo coloring. Sounds good, huh? Not the dogs.